Good morning, my name is Jane Price and I'm the Director of the Internationally Trained Lawyers Program at the University of Toronto Faculty of Law. Today I'm going to talk to you about the process of becoming a lawyer in Canada. I'm going to begin by taking you through the process if you were educated in Canada. So, if you were educated in Canada and you want to join the legal profession, here are the steps you need to take. Step 1, you need to graduate from high school. Step 2, you need to do a university degree. Typically, this will take you 3 or 4 years. Step 3, you attend law school. This will take 3 years. Step 4, you enter the licensing process. Every province in Canada has a different licensing process, but in general, we can say typically they require both an articling period and exams. So in Ontario, under the Law Society of Upper Canada, at this point, you would article for 10 months, that is work as an apprentice in a law office, and write 2 exams under the Law Society of Upper Canada, the barrister's exam and the solicitor's exam, and you would also complete a professional responsibility component. After you've done all that, the education and the licensure, you're entitled to apply to be called to the bar, and provided the Law Society of Upper Canada finds you to be of good character, you will be called to the bar and issued a license to practice law. So that process for someone who is educated in Canada is typically 7 years of post-secondary education, post-high school, and 1 year of work experience. Now, if you're an internationally trained lawyer, how do you become accredited and licensed to practice law in Canada? There are 2 processes you need to go through if you're an internationally trained lawyer. The first process is called accreditation. And you can think of that as a little bit equivalent to the university process here. You're accrediting your education to Canadian standards. The accreditation process is overseen by the National Committee on Accreditation. So if you're an internationally trained lawyer and you're hoping to look at practicing law here, your first step for every internationally trained lawyer is to contact the National Committee on Accreditation. You apply to the National Committee and ask for an assessment of your legal credentials. They will ask you for a copy of your transcripts. Transcripts is not a word that's used in every jurisdiction, so I'm going to explain that that is a document issued by your law school that lists the courses you took, the marks you received, and that you received a law degree. That transcript has to go directly from your law school to the NCA. Also, if in your home jurisdiction you practice law, your law society, bar council, or whatever the governing legal body is called, must issue a letter directly to the NCA, not through you, but directly to the NCA that says that when you were in that jurisdiction, you were of good counsel or of good reputation. Whether that's past tense or present tense, it doesn't matter. What is important is that they can say that you were in good standing when you were in that jurisdiction. Once the NCA has all your materials, then they will begin to assess your application. This will take time, typically 3 months. After they've assessed your application, they will send you a letter. That letter will tell you what you need to do to accredit your education and experience to Canadian standards. If you're from a common law jurisdiction, you'll be assigned challenge exams and/or courses at a Canadian law school. Could be from 4 to 10, depending on your background, your experience. If you're from a hybrid jurisdiction where there's both common law and code-based law, civil, religious, Sharia, you'll be assigned more exams. Hard to say how many, but you can look carefully at the NCA website and make a pretty educated guess. I would say between 8 and 12, 8 and 14 possibly. For those of you who are from an exclusively code-based system, a civil law system, the NCA may tell you that you need to receive some education in common law. I'm going to direct those of you who are interested in learning more about those from civil law jurisdictions to look at our video, Civil Law and the ITLP. For those of you who get a letter from the NCA then, directing that you do challenge exams and/or courses at the Canadian Law School, once you get that letter, you will then have to complete those exams. This is a challenging process. To quote a judge who teaches in our program, Justice Rick Libman, he says, "They are called challenge exams for a reason." After you write and pass your challenge exams, the National Committee on Accreditation will issue you a certificate called the Certificate of Qualification. You can then take that certificate to the Law Society in the province that you're applying to, in this case, the Law Society of Upper Canada, and enter the licensing process. For you, the licensing process will be very similar to that for the Canadian educated students. You have to complete the articling process, you have to write the barrister's exam, you need to write the solicitor's exam, and you need to complete the professional responsibility component. Once you have done all of these things, you will be entitled to be called to the bar, and then you will be licensed to practice law in the province of Ontario.